Have you ever had one of those moments, where you're faced with a choice and it's so difficult, so heart-wrenching that you almost feel frozen?
Like you're stuck at a crossroads, and every path has huge consequences.
Exactly. And that's what we're diving into today, the Bhagavad Gita, which starts off not with a bang, but with one of these impossible dilemmas.
And it unfolds on an epic scale. Imagine a battlefield, but not just any battlefield. This is Kurukshetra, a place already considered sacred.
Okay, so we're talking like a big deal even for ancient India.
Absolutely. This is where history and destiny collide. It's where we meet Arjuna, a warrior facing a situation that would test even the bravest heart.
So set the scene for us. What's going on?
Arjuna is this incredible archer, maybe the best there is. He's there on his chariot, ready to lead his army to victory, but then
Oh, there's always a but then.
he gets a look at the enemy lines, and things get really, really interesting. Because standing on the other side, ready to fight him to the death.
Don't tell me it's zombies.
Not quite zombies, but close. It's his family.
His family. Talk about an awkward family reunion. Like, hey, Uncle Bob, haven't seen you since. Well, ever. So, about to charge into battle with you. Pass the chutney.
It's even more intense than that.
Yeah.
We're talking cousins, teachers, even his own great-grandfather, a legendary warrior, all arrayed against him.
I'd be calling for a timeout. So what does he do?
What's fascinating is how human his reaction is. Here's this fierce warrior, and he completely falls apart.
Falls apart how?
His body trembles, his mouth goes dry, he even drops his bow. The text says he's undone, utterly overwhelmed with emotion.
Wow. Okay, so it's not just the fear of battle then, right? This is something way deeper.
Exactly. He's hit with these huge questions. Can victory ever be worth this kind of bloodshed, the blood of your own family? What good is a kingdom built on that much sorrow?
He's basically rethinking his entire life's purpose in that moment.
He even questions if it wouldn't be more honorable to just die right there, lay down his arms, rather than fight.
That's heavy stuff. Like suddenly the cost of what he's about to do, it's not just physical, it's, I don't know, soul-crushing.
And that's where the Bhagavad Gita goes beyond a war story. Because we've all faced those tough choices, those moments where doing the right thing comes at a huge personal cost.
Right, like, do I speak up at work even if it means risking my job? Or do I end this relationship even if it breaks someone's heart?
Exactly. And what makes this text so powerful is it takes this very human struggle, this balancing act between our personal ethics and what we think our duty is, and it explodes it out onto this epic scale.
Okay, so we've got this incredible warrior, paralyzed by doubt. He's standing on a battlefield that's practically a national monument.
And he's staring down his family.
And this is just the first chapter. I am hooked. Before we hear what happens next, though, can you tell us a bit more about the symbolism in the Bhagavad Gita? For example, the conch shells. What's the deal with that?
Ah, yes. The conch shells. Remember, in this world, every detail is significant.
Okay, so more than just a way to make a lot of noise.
Way more. The conch shells are like sonic signatures, each one representing a different hero or deity.
So like spiritual trumpets.
In a way. For instance, Krishna, who's advising Arjuna, blows his conch, the Panchajanya. And that sound signals divine presence.
Whoa! It's like the universe is sending a memo. Important spiritual battle going down. Don't miss this.
You got it. And then there's Arjuna's conch, the Davata. Hearing it blown alongside Krishna's, that's a powerful message of their alliance.
It's like those ancient Greek plays where the gods would literally show up on stage. But let's not forget the reaction on the other side of the battlefield.
Oh, right. Duryodhana side. The text tells us the sound of the conch shells, especially Krishna's conch, struck fear into their hearts. Imagine that. The psychological impact of this cacophony signaling the odds might be stacked against them.
It's psychological warfare, ancient style. But let's get back to Arjuna and his crisis. It's one thing to, feel conflicted, but he seems to be questioning some pretty fundamental ideas here. What's his main argument against fighting? So he's going through this huge internal crisis, right there on the edge of battle.
It's like his whole world is crumbling. And what's crumbling is his understanding of Dharma.
Dharma. Okay, for those of us who aren't, Hindu scholars.
Think of it as a kind of cosmic order, a way of being in the world that encompasses duty, ethics, destiny. It's complex. But Arjuna is wrestling with the idea that even if he wins this battle, even if it's a righteous war, the cost of all that violence, all that death, it could shatter that order.
Ew, it's not just about winning, it's about the consequences of winning.
Exactly. He's worried about the long-term impacts, the ripple effects. In fact, he lays out this whole vision of what that kind of societal breakdown would look like.
Like what? Give us the ancient world version of doom and gloom.
Think collapse of traditions, the suffering of women and children, the rise of chaos, lawlessness. These were very real fears for people of that time.
And, those fears, they're not that different from what we worry about today, right? I mean, the long-term impacts of violence, the erosion of values, the idea that even a just war can leave these lasting scars.
It's timeless. And what Arjuna's anguish forces us to do is ask ourselves, what are we willing to pay for what we believe in?
Is there ever a point where it's like, yeah, it's for the greater good, but the cost is just too damn high?
Exactly. Tough questions.
No kidding. So we've got our warrior. He's doubting everything he thought he knew. What does he do?
Well, instead of pushing those doubts down, ignoring them, he does something really interesting. He confronts them head on.
Go on.
He turns to Krishna, who, remember, is more than just his charioteer. This is an avatar of the divine.
Like God in a chariot. Got it.
And he basically says, I'm lost. I don't know what to do. You tell me.
It's like a surrender, but not a physical surrender. He's surrendering his ego. Like, I can't figure this out on my own.
Yes. And that act of surrender, that willingness to set aside his own limited understanding, to seek a higher wisdom.
Yeah.
That's what makes the rest of the Bhagavad Gita possible.
So it's like the path to enlightenment starts with admitting you don't have all the answers.
It's that humility, that openness that creates the space for real learning.
Mm-hmm.
And that's where we're headed.
Okay, so what happens next? Does Krishna give him a pep talk, tell him to, go out there and win one for the Gipper?
Not exactly. In fact, what Krishna does is actually kind of surprising. He doesn't try to soothe Arjuna's fears or give him easy answers.
Oh boy, here it comes.
He actually pushes him even further, challenges him to look beyond this immediate emotional turmoil and grapple with some really big existential questions about life, death, the nature of reality.
Whoa, so we're going from a battlefield to, like, a philosophy lecture all in the space of a chapter or two? This is why I love a good deep dive.
And remember, this is all happening with two armies watching and waiting.
Talk about a captive audience. So while we're waiting for Krishna to, drop some wisdom, can we talk a little more about Arjuna? What are we supposed to take away from his character? He's a warrior, yeah, but he's obviously got a lot going on beneath the surface.
That's one of the things that makes him such a compelling character, right? He's this legendary archer, but he's also deeply human.
He's got feelings.
He feels the weight of his decisions. He struggles with doubt. He grapples with his conscience. He's not just a fighting machine.
It makes him relatable, even though he's this mythical figure from, like, thousands of years ago.
Exactly. He reminds us that even the greatest heroes have doubts, that even the strongest people can be brought low by grief and uncertainty. And sometimes it's in those moments of vulnerability that we find our greatest strength.
It's like we're seeing what's going on in his head, behind the armor and the weapons.
And that's what makes the Bhagavad Gita resonate with people, even today, from all walks of life.
Because we all have those internal battles going on.
Exactly. It speaks to these universal questions we all face. What's my duty? How do I deal with uncertainty? What does it mean to live a good life?
Big questions for sure. But let's not forget, all of this is happening on a battlefield, right? With two armies ready to,
Clash, yes.
Did anyone at least offer Arjuna and Krishna a snack break? I feel like this calls for some chai and pakoras.
Well, I don't think they took a snack break, but while all this is happening, there's actually another character who's, well, very interested in what's going on between them.
Oh, who's that?
Dhritarashtra, the blind king. Remember him?
Right.
Yeah.
The guy who's basically watching this whole thing unfold from the sidelines. Or, well, not watching exactly.
And he's getting constant updates from his advisor, Sanjaya.
And how's he handling the news that his star archer is having a total meltdown right before the big game?
Surprisingly, he doesn't panic.
Really?
Instead of trying to, micromanage the situation, he does something very interesting. He asks Sanjaya to describe the scene to him in detail.
He wants to, see it through Sanjaya's eyes.
Exactly. Which I think brings us back to what we were talking about earlier, about the Bhagavad Gita being about so much more than just this battle, right?
It's about inner vision.
Yes. Seeking wisdom in the face of adversity. Facing your fears. Discovering your true potential.
It's about transformation. We meet Arjuna at the beginning, and he's, paralyzed by doubt. But I have a feeling by the end of this dialogue, he's going to emerge different.
Let's just say that the conversation between him and Krishna is nothing short of life-altering. It's a deep dive into the nature of reality, into what it means to live a truly meaningful life.
And to think, It all starts with this one moment of crisis, this impossible choice on a dusty battlefield. I don't know about you, but I'm ready to find out what happens next.
As we continue exploring the Bhagavad Gita, I hope you'll consider how its timeless wisdom might guide us through the complexities and uncertainties of our own lives.
Beautifully said. Until next time, keep asking those big questions.
And keep seeking those moments of profound insight.